Good morning and welcome to another Solar Pros episode. I'm Caesar.
This is Manny.
And today we're going to talk about door-to-door. Dude,
Isn't
hey, do you love door-to-door, dude?
You know what? Yeah, I do. Nowadays, I learned to love it. When I first started, though, I wouldn't say it was my forte, like my strongest skills, but you learn to develop them.
Yeah, I was actually a little bit overly excited talking about door-to-door because typically people are not excited when you
What are
think
the
about
reaction
it.
when they hear you got to do door-to-door?
I was like, oh man, some people feel like it's below their pay grade. Some people feel like, you know what, I'm too old to be doing that.
Some
or
people feel like it's not a real job.
yeah, like really door-to-door. I went to school, dude. I got a degree. What the hell am I gonna go like? That's what like Girl Scout cookies. Like that's that's the type of thing that comes to mind. Kirby vacuum cleaners, like selling
Alarms.
or liquids, right, to clean your house or whatever. And so a lot of times you feel that, or because realistically you can be at your house on a Sunday afternoon and somebody comes knocking on your door, right? A lot of those people work on Sundays,
Which is very common.
yeah, it's very common. So you put yourself in that place. You're like, I don't want to be that vacuum cleaner guy. I don't want to be that, mom walking around with their daughter selling Girl Scout cookies or whatever. You tend to like feel like that's not your
not for
like
me.
picture of success. In
No,
other
because
words,
you don't grow up, you don't go to school, and you have in your head like, oh, I want to be a door knocker when I grow up.
never did
Yeah.
anybody in my family said, hey man, door to door is where it's at. Never did any teacher, counselor, or anybody say, dude, if you can get into door-to-door sales, that's
Yeah.
where it's at, right? And
You don't hear that anywhere.
No, and you know what? It's just one of the elements, right? It's not like the only way to go out and get solar clients. It's not the only way to do it, right? There's plenty of ways to generate clients.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that door-to-door, why I love door-to-door in this particular industry. So for one, it's free. You don't have to pay. Like, so if you're just getting started in something, you don't have to spend the marketing.
way to start.
You don't have to spend the marketing dollars. You don't have to, look for resources that you don't have at the time. You can literally grab a clipboard, start knocking on doors, just have a little bit of knowledge. And even if you're not the person that's closing the deal, basically, you can bring someone else with experience along. All you got to do is be the person that initiates the contact, get the name and number, and have somebody else come in there and help you.
So it's the best way to start. It's
Yeah.
free, it's limitless. I mean, you got endless possibilities of where you're gonna be door knocking, pretty
Right.
much any neighborhood, and go back to them in case people are not home, which is very common.
Exactly.
Well, how was your experience when you first transitioned into door knocking? Do
You know what?
Do you remember your first door?
Yes, it was actually really good because I've never done door to door before. I was one of those guys that's like, nah, dude, I'm better than that. I don't need to go knock doors to make a living for anything. But when I first was involved in the solar industry, the first company that I worked with actually had a marketing budget and all that kind of stuff. So it was more like a desk job, and the phone would ring, and I would go close the deal.
Okay.
But then when I got into like being an independent contractor and I didn't have the marketing dollars the company would put on the table, I had to go knock doors. And somebody told me, he's like, you know what? And it was actually in Somerton. It was like either Vida Nueva or one of those streets.
Okay.
For those that,
You remember the street?
yeah, I remember the street because I was like, dude, it was historic for me, right? My first door to door, and it actually went beyond like my expectations. We got 13 appointments.
Wow.
And we closed 4 deals in 2 streets.
In
In
two
2 streets. And probably, and I didn't know, because this is back in the day when Solar City had a quick process, like, oh, we're just going to do the site survey real quick,
Yeah.
right? I didn't even know what was going on. The person that took me out there is like, oh, yeah, we got him down for a site survey. I didn't even know that was a real deal already. He gave me money that day. He's like trying to give me all the money he had in his pocket because he literally sold 4 deals. I was just walking around introducing, the nice
yourself to
the
the
nice
people.
Hispanic community to the nice white guy. I was just the middle guy. I was like, hey, man, we're bringing something to the community that's going to save you money. Here's my white guy. He's a friend. He's good. He comes in peace. And people were just like, yeah, I want to know more about it. It was, I'm talking like over 5 years ago that
Okay.
this happened here, probably like 6 years ago. This was before many people were offering Sunrun. This was when Solar City had just arrived. So a lot of people had not even heard of the program yet.
It was-
so
it was fairly new in this
Yeah,
area.
so it was
It
a
was
lot.
fairly new.
It was a lot easier to pique people's interest. So I walked into something where like, wow, like this is, who wouldn't want to knock doors, right? And that was like my go-to from the beginning. And once you start making a little bit of money, sometimes we try to get too cute. We want to pay instead of putting in the effort. So then we spend money in marketing, we spend money on sponsored ads, which is cool. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. But I can tell you right now, nothing replaces knocking doors.
No,
I mean,
it's free, most of all. It's free.
yeah, and the experience you get, the challenge of knocking at a complete stranger's house and turning some of their objections or negativity around, that carries on to your next conversations, right?
Yeah.
That helps you become a better closer in anything you do, because literally the most challenging sale is at the door.
Yeah. And wouldn't you say that enhances your skills? Like if you
Big
feel
time.
if you feel you have skills in closing or in selling, try door to door. That will define whether you have skills or not, because it enhances your the way you read the customer.
It's like going to a gym for a sales guy, right? You're sharpening your skills. You're getting stronger. You're getting better. You're going to be able to overcome objections. You're going to be a better communicator. You're going to be able to read body language, read people, and compliment and work on that. And then, you know, if the conversation didn't really go well, you can reflect on it and say, man, I could have said that, I could have said this, or I should just be quiet, let the client talk. And so you start working on all these things, and it makes you a better salesperson overall.
You learn to read the customer and know when to listen, know when to talk, and never go head to head with the customer, especially at their door.
Yeah, and the number one thing I would say to have success at the doors is your attitude, right?
And the right mentality, that you're there to just pretty much talk to someone.
Yeah, and you got to have the end goal in mind, right? Like, so you got to understand, like, you know what? I'm going to knock on 100 doors no matter what the outcome is. If that's the way you walk into it, you're probably going to have success. If you're in there like, man, I've already talked to a whopping 3 people and they're all negative, and you're hung up on all these negative people, and you go to the next one and they slam the door on you or whatever, and you're just like, it's carrying as heavy on you, right? It's like
it does feel like that.
You've knocked on 6 doors and you act like you've done so much and you've experienced so many, like, you know, rejections, and it's like it weighs on you. You can't let it weigh on you. It has to be like next. And
talking about those rejections, that brought me back to when I first started door knocking about almost 3.5, 4 years ago. Coming from the car industry, you're not used to going to people's houses, going to people in general. You're there and people come to you, right?
Yeah.
So when I was out first door knocking, I remember first door knock, nobody was home. It was about 2:30 in the evening, right? So I knocked, nobody's there. I knocked on 5 doors, I didn't get nobody to open the door, and I was feeling like, what am I doing? I moved from California to Arizona. I brought my family on board. Like, what am I doing out here? You know,
knocking doors, no one's home.
You start going through all these thoughts in your head, and then all of a sudden, my car was right there. I was like, you know what? Nobody's watching. I'm just gonna go in my car and head home, and maybe come out later. And as I was walking to the car, there was one more house to finish the street. I was like, oh, I'll just knock here. Might as well,
I'll
right?
just finish this one.
So I knocked, and that was my first deal ever.
Yeah.
So it just goes to say that, like, the next door, whether you could make it or break it, as far as it could be a deal or not. Never take for granted how the house, how old is the house. If there's no cars in the driveway, because you never know.
Yeah, I know, and you're absolutely right, man. I've been into situations where we literally knocked the entire neighborhood, and 2 out of the last 3 houses ended up becoming proposals and becoming clients. So you just never know. It's a numbers game. I always tell people, right, in the meetings, like 100 doors, that's your ratio. If you knock on 100 doors, keep track of that number. And we're going to go a little more in depth even in today's meeting, because it's something that we got to keep reminding people that door to door is a numbers game. You knock on 100 doors, you're probably going to get somewhere around 35 not home. That's just a given, right? So now you only have 65 people to actually work with. Out of those 65, there might be 15 renters. So now you're left with 50 people. Out of those 50 people, you're going to probably get 30 that are not interested. Like, just off the bat, they're like, oh, another solar guy, you know,
Nope.
oh, not interested, or look through the blind and act like they're not home, right? And so, again, that's a given. You got to expect that. If you go in there expecting to get appointments, then that's when you start, like, feeling like crap, because
you
you're
don't
going to get
feel
all,
like you're actually,
yeah, but when you
you're
already
doing good
know,
enough.
you already know, like, out of these 100 doors, I'm probably only going to get 20 people to even give me the time of day.
And expect a no. Expect no, know how to overcome it.
Right. And so you can't take the last experience. As a matter of fact, when somebody's being really negative at the door, I kind of get excited, because I'm like, okay, cool, here's my punching bag.
Yeah.
And what do I mean by that? Like, I already know we're not gonna go anywhere, but I use it like practice. Like, all right, I'm gonna throw a
Not
couple.
physical practice.
Yeah. I don't start throwing punches or nothing like that. I actually just, use it as a training moment where I know this person is negative. So then I'll say things like, well, let me ask you this. What do you like so much about the utility company? Yeah. And even though they're already negative and like, they'll be sarcastic. Like, I love it. I love my electric bill, because they know we're a solar guy, so they want to push our buttons too. So I kind of like go into this, but then I calm it down. I smile. I'm just playing with you, man. If it's not something you're interested in, that's completely fine. We're just in the neighborhood, decided to stop by. So I use that moment to kind of like get me sharp. So then when I knock on the nice, lady's house that she was like open about it, I already practiced some of the objections with the guy that I knew I wasn't going to get anywhere with anyway. I don't spend a bunch of time, right? I'm not going to spend 5-10 minutes with them, but I do kind of like to get in a little bit of like contest their opinion.
And that might actually change the customer's
Sometimes
point of
it
view
happens.
because it does happen.
Yeah.
They're all negative. They're on the fence about it. And then if they see that you have a nice attitude and you don't go head to head on overcoming their objections and just pretty much give them some nice facts. Yeah. Sometimes they lower their guard and they're willing to hear you. Because I know it's happened to me, it's happened to you, and it's happened to a lot of guys.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You never know.
And you turn them around. But even if you don't, it sharpens your axe for the next one. And then when that person is actually interested, it just becomes like, wow, that was so simple. I wish everybody was like that, right? But it's because your axe was sharpened. And so you go from situations from somebody that's completely negative to someone that's completely open that says, hey, come on in. I've been talking to my wife about solar and we've been doing some research and we're looking to get a quote, or we got a quote from somebody else, but we're looking to someone to compare it with, so.
And that was a little bit more common a couple of years ago. How often does that happen to you now when you're out there knocking? People are more willing to like, hey, yeah, we're actually thinking of going solar, coming in.
Yeah, because they've been seeing it for so many years now, and so it's not like when it was, like I said 5 years ago, where people are like, oh, what is it? I want to know more about it. Come inside. Yes, if I'm going to save money, let's do it. Now people are a lot more educated. So it's not like, I hate to call them like lay downs, but that's the term in sales, right? Where you walk in, they're like, yeah, but we've kind of been waiting for you all.
Where do I sign?
Where do I sign, right? You don't really get too many lay downs anymore because like the people are educated, but you do get a lot of people like, you know what, I've done my research. I am interested. Why don't you come back another day?
And it's not so much because they're educated, it's that they see us everywhere they go now.
Yeah.
The supermarket, Sam's, Walmart's.
True.
They're
familiar with it.
Some of their neighbors
They're familiar with it.
So they're more familiar with it. Mm-hmm. So therefore they do take their guard a little bit. Maybe want to compare a little bit more. Right?
Yeah. And so just to take people through like a quick, day of like door to door, solid door to door. Obviously, on the average neighborhoods, people work. In most neighborhoods, you're going to catch people from 4 to 6 o'clock. In the summer, you can push it to like 7. But then the later it gets, the more you're like potentially interfering with dinner, whatever, and it's always about being respectful. Like, so anytime I knock on a door, the first thing I do, I shake somebody's hand, right? I say, hey, how you doing? My name's Caesar. Or sometimes like, hey, like I kind of we're in a small town, so I recognize a lot of these people's faces. Like I've ran into you somewhere, maybe I have you on Facebook. I ran into you at a restaurant, something, right? So in my mind is like, I already know them. So that when I smile, when I want to shake their hand, it's like a genuine thing. I'm not just doing it just to break the ice. Yeah, of course it breaks the ice, but it's not just like, and that's not what is on my head. My head is like, I know these people, and if I don't know them, I'm going to get to know them, and we're going to be friends, right? So I have that attitude going on. And
it's a good way to start a conversation.
A lot of people might disagree with it, but I extend my hand. Yeah. If you leave my hand hanging man to man, dude, like you're the one that's got problems, not me. You know what I'm saying? And it happens very rarely. Like most of the time, I say, hey, how you doing, man? Caesar Delgadillo. And they shake my hand. So automatically, there's already more trust than if I'm the guy like standing 10, 15 feet, away from them, like, hey, is a homeowner around, like looking all like salesy or whatever. So I'm just like, hey, how you doing, man? Like I'm coming over for a Super Bowl party or something, but let's not go there right now. But
there's a lot of, it's just door to door is like, it's like a book. There's a lot of chapters, a lot of things that we could talk about door to door.
Yeah. So to me, that's kind of like the icebreaker, right?
Yeah.
Just shake someone's hand, act like we're friends, act like we might even know each other. And then from there, I said, hey, you know what? I was just visiting some of my current clients that have solar, and we're in the neighborhood. Noticed that you don't have solar yet. I was curious. Have you looked into it at all?
Yeah.
It could be something that simple.
That starts
right?
a conversation.
You can add little promotions, gift cards, and other type of stuff to kind of incentivize people, which I like to do sometimes about that. But you know, when it comes to just getting in the door, that simple pitch works. It's just a numbers game. You say that 100 times.
The simple, the better.
To 100 people, some people are going to take you up on it. Some people are going to be like, yeah, we looked at it a couple years ago. So we had someone come by, or we're waiting on somebody to give us a proposal. You're going to get all kinds of different answers, or nah, I'm not interested. And so then that's where you got to dig a little bit more. You know, it's like, oh, well, how long ago did you get a proposal? What is it that you're not interested in? What is it that you're not interested in, and what is it that you like so much about the utility company?
I get that a lot. Oh, I already got a proposal. Sometimes, like, if you ask, how long ago? Oh, last year, or a couple years ago. Things change all the time.
Yeah.
So it's always good to be updated and always willing, even if you're not ready, give yourselves the opportunity to hear them out and get the proposal, because who knows? Maybe this time around, it might be beneficial for you.
Or another classic, yeah, I looked into it, but I wasn't really going to save much, so I didn't do it. Well, how much are you going to save by keeping your utility company? Well, I mean, did you get the letter, right?
Yeah.
It's going to go up again this year and next year and the year after that. So look at it like this. You might not save a lot like
right
now, or maybe you wouldn't have saved a lot last year. But what about 5 years from now? How much are you going to be paying with your electric company?
It's an investment in your home. So you're investing in you're pretty much in your piggy bank.
Exactly. You know, and then that's where you kind of just bring up your skills and say, hey, you know what? There's if you've dealt with somebody, if they're kind of negative and they're like, yeah, I already talked to somebody and I'm not interested. It's like,
maybe
hey,
they didn't explain the numbers right.
The classic line I always drop, and I say, you know, there's good mechanics and there's bad mechanics. Yep. You know, I happen to be one of the good ones. Like, I swear, that's what I tell people. And I mean, they stop and think like, okay, well, let me prove it, right?
It's
like,
not
okay.
because you had a bad experience with a mechanic doesn't mean you're never gonna go to the mechanic again.
And it's perfect. I'll prove it to you. What's your name? What's your number? Perfect. Let me work on these numbers for you, and then I just have a couple questions. It'll take about 2 minutes, and tomorrow I could come back and give you a proposal. I know I came in unannounced. One of the things that is like very annoying for me, and I'm a salesperson, is invasive salespeople. That just because I'm nice to you and I open the door and I'm talking to you, like don't invite yourself in. Like, I hate doing that unless somebody says, come on in. We're willing to talk to you right now. I don't ever push the issue to come on in, dude. Just because, I don't know. Again, some people, not everybody would agree with this. Some people want to get in there. They want to spend 3 hours. They want to do the proposal right there and then, and they want to go home with the deal in that moment.
So a two-touch deal.
I'm not that desperate. You know, I'm seriously, like, I look at it like that. Like, dude, these people didn't even know I was coming. They might have plans. So I always give them their space and said, hey, I know I came unannounced today, but if you give me 2 minutes and I just get the information I need, tomorrow I can come back and actually
So take those 2 to 5 minutes as a win already. You already got someone interested. Make the appointment. Have them have the time for you.
Yeah, if they're making dinner and stuff, hey, apologies. Hey, I see that you're in the middle of dinner. I came unannounced, but I did notice you didn't have solar. When would it be a good time to come back and talk about it? You know? And you said it earlier, 2-touch close. It's been proven that a 2-touch close, the retention, because again, with solar, you know, this is a process. 4, 6, 8 weeks, sometimes even longer for a system to get installed in some situations. So you got to have a relationship with people for 2 months anyway before their solar turns on.
Why rush it in?
Why rush it in the first day?
First 1 hour or so.
And if you're a complete stranger, this is what happens. Like, you could be a really good salesperson. So you push the issue, you get them to sign, you convince them, you get them going. And guess what? When you leave, you're still a stranger and they already signed with you. So the odds of them getting cold feet are a lot higher.
And if they didn't do their homework or their research,
and then
now
they're
going to start doing it. Yeah.
So then you spend 3 hours just so that you got to go back and resell it anyway. So why not
Take your time.
Yeah, I like the two-touch close, man. Break the ice, introduce yourself, let them know you're a
Build that
professional.
relationship with the customer.
Get the numbers, then come back in a formal appointment where they're ready, expecting you. Share the numbers. Typically, when they sign right there and then, it's a solid deal moving forward. So that's another tip that I would give at the doors. Don't try to invade their property in that moment and get in the door and sign the deal. Again, does it happen? Yeah, I've had it happen where people are like, so give me the numbers. What are we talking about right now? And I said, well, if you want to give me about a good 45 minutes, we can get it done. But I don't want to, I know I came unannounced. And sometimes they're like, no, you're right. Go,
well, let's set it up
come
for
back with the
tomorrow
numbers tomorrow.
the
Right. I mean, if they take me on it, don't get me wrong. Like
I'm ready.
I've done, in situations, I've done deals that I meet them and then right there we get it all done. But it doesn't typically work out that way. And again, the retention is a lot higher when we
With
do
a
two touch. Yep.
Yeah.
And when
So
we
take
work
those couple of minutes
we
as a
can work
win.
as partners, right? Like you can go knock on a door and I can go out there and you can edify me, right? Say you're brand new to the industry. You don't have to put the pressure on yourself to know all
like,
the
hey,
answers.
my name is Manny. We're here in the neighborhood helping a lot of customers going solar. Notice that you have a nice roof. You haven't gone solar. If you would like some more info, here's my coworker Caesar. He's an expert. He's a solar specialist. If you want to give him a couple of minutes to hear him out, he might have something good for you. And then pretty much like edify you, right?
Yeah. So if I'm brand new to the industry, all I know that solar can potentially save you money, and I have a manager that is on my team, like in the neighborhood, or that's closing the deals for me because I'm still new, then we can refer it as like Batman and Robin or the give and go offense, right? Like somebody sparks the interest, somebody else comes and seals the deal. Typically for a brand new representative in our team, that's kind of the position. And that's how you learn. That's how you learn. And I mean, some of these guys that started, I like to call it the farm system. They didn't have sales background. They obviously didn't have solar background, and they started from scratch. And they had to start, through the school of hard knocks and just get the appointments and have someone else do the presentation. Yeah. That's how you learn. That's how I learned. The firm.
What is the one thing that you say that you will need to have in order to be able to be a successful door knocker? Communication skills.
Well, communication skills, but number one, you're gonna want to do like a whole process where you do your work ethic is number one. Like that's first, and coachable. Work ethic and coachable. Those were the first two things I was trying to think of. Like, yeah, you got to be willing to learn from the people that have done it, even though you might. A lot of times from the outside looking in, it's like, oh man, why are you guys doing it that hard? Like, we've had plenty of people's like, man, you guys are working too hard. I know how to work the internet, and I'm gonna have people calling me, and when I show up, people are already gonna be signed up. I'm just gonna have to pick up the paperwork. Yeah. As a matter of fact, they're gonna scan the paperwork over to me, and I'm just gonna make money from my computer.
Work from home or the office.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, I get it. Like, believe me, we all wish we had the magic wand, but we've been there and done that, and it doesn't exist. Like, there's ways of generating business online.
How many deals have you closed like that?
I mean, throughout the years, I've gotten a lot of deals online, like Facebook marketing and whatnot. Like they happen.
Deals where you don't even get to meet that customer at all?
Oh, when I don't,
they scan everything.
I might have two.
In about 5 years that you've been doing
so? 2 and over 300-400 clients, Yeah. So it's less than 2%.
I haven't found that one yet.
So it takes a long time to do that. And one of them was a referral. One of them was through online. So, I mean, it just doesn't happen that often. You got to just bust it, dude. You got to go out there and knock. Look at it like this. If you're in the solar industry, if you don't have an appointment somewhere between 4 to 7, if you don't got nothing lined up, you should be knocking doors.
That's your bread and butter. That's where you're going to generate the majority of your business.
If you're at the grocery store between 4 and 7 and you're in solar, you're not doing it right. If you're freaking checking your emails between 4 and 7 and... No, dude, that's time where you can be knocking on doors.
4 to 7 is about go time.
Yeah. And I would say that somebody that takes door knocking seriously, like a job, like every day, and it's hard to do, it's hard to be that disciplined, it's an easy 6-figure income. Like I can say that. Like if you're knocking doors for solar every day, like Monday through Friday, even if it's Monday through Thursday, every day.
Good 4 hours a day.
You're going to make 6 figures by like October.
And I know some people that when they first start out, that they're so hungry that they go door knock in the morning too, maybe somewhere around 10 to noon, because some people are actually home because they might work in the evening. So they work from 10 to 2, they door knock for about those 2 hours, grab lunch, go home, set up their day, set up their agenda, and then start knocking again from 4 to 7.
Yeah.
And those people, let me just say that they know what they're doing, and they're the top sellers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a system that's already been proven,
Yeah.
you know, and new developments is the best areas, obviously. But even if you think like, oh, this neighborhood's already been, you know, burned out, or almost everybody has solar. If there's a house or two without it, knock at that house. You don't know the situation. Somebody might have just moved in. They recently bought that house. Or the person that said no before, all of a sudden feels awkward because they're the only ones in the neighborhood without solar. And no matter how they
Maybe
feel
they didn't
about
have
it.
that chemistry with their sales representative.
Or maybe they failed credit, right? There's a credit requirement. Maybe they failed credit a few years ago and nobody came back, and now you come back and say, you know what, I don't know, my credit didn't, you know, meet the criteria back then. I don't know, see where I'm at. Hey, you passed. Sometimes that's the only thing that was holding back. It's like, oh, okay, cool, let's get it, you know? So you just never know. Don't assume that, okay, this neighborhood's
and never
done.
assume the sale, or never assume that, oh, that house looks pretty old, they're not gonna qualify, because it's true. I mean, it's happened to me, and I'm pretty sure it's happened to a lot of people. When you're out, you're fishing and you're looking for that perfect south-facing roof and a nice house, and then like sometimes if you focus so much on that, you're leaving money on the table by not knocking on other doors where sometimes there is no cars in the driveway.
Absolutely. Or sometimes you show up to a house that has all the nice cars and you're like, man, this is going to be a slam dunk.
Yeah. And they fail credit.
They're all cocky about their credit. Like, I got it. And then it's like, what? We failed? And it's like, yeah, you just never know, you know, so you can't prejudge, knock on every house because, hey, they probably know people. They got family members.
Referrals.
Another tip, I don't even know if I should give this tip to you guys because, but this one's good and it works. We got people that already have solar, right? Maybe they got solar with Solar City. Guess what? They don't have a representative anymore, right? So those people oftentimes are willing to give you referrals because they're happy with their solar. They just don't have a solar guy to refer them to. There's no promotion. There's no advertisement money that can come into them by having solar. They're just happy solar clients. But if you talk to those people and work out some sort of referral fee, work out a gift card, they're willing
sort of an incentive for them.
They're willing to send you people sometimes, and we've already worked with.
Because I've knocked on doors that already had solar, and sometimes when we're out coaching or training some new reps, they're like, "Why do you knock on that door if it already has solar?" I'm like, I want to hear them out. I want to see what their experience is. You get to see what their experience is.
The temperature in the neighborhood, you get to see if it's like, hey, did the people that came before us to do some jobs around here do a good job? If they did, what's the temperature in the neighborhood? Are they happy with it? Hey, so when you talk to your prospects, says, hey, Mr. Garcia down the street, he's very happy with his solar. Johnny over there, he's very happy with his solar. Or if they're not happy with it because of whatever reason, then you also know, like, hey, your neighbors are not happy because of this, this, and this, but this is how we do it, and this is why, and this is the difference. You know, just like there's bad mechanics, good mechanics, you know, and I use that again. So it's good for you to gauge the temperature of your neighborhood by talking to people that already currently have solar. And those can potentially turn into referrals for you.
And sometimes new customers might know their neighbor that had solar for a long period of time. So they already feel like, okay, you know my neighbor. Okay, they'll give you the time of day to listen to you a little bit more. Because it's always happened. If you already mentioned, oh, I would talk to Joe next door, and they're friends with Joe, they're like, oh, okay, so what did Joe say?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. So, you know, again, door to door is just one element of at least 10 different other ways to generate leads in this business, but it's the most efficient way. It's all like, if you don't got anything else going on from 4 to 7, you should be knocking doors, not, you know, doing Facebook ads or anything like that. You can do that at 4 in the morning if you really want to do it. You can do it at midnight, but from 4 to 7, you should be knocking doors. It's good for your soul, knocking doors, man. Jesus knocked doors. People go on their missions to knock doors. Like, dude, it's good. It's like the best thing you can do to sharpen your axe.
4 to 7, knuckle time.
For sure. Look at these knuckles, man. They're all worn down.
You have no more knuckles. They're really hitting too many doors.
So, yeah, man, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode as far as like getting the grips of like what door to door can do for you. And if you're not making 6 figures in whatever you're doing, dude, go knock doors and start talking about solar to people. That will fix the problem like that. 6 figures. If you're a door knocker in this business that takes it serious, is like minimum wage.
And don't go knock just any door. Come to us. We'll show you the ropes. We'll show you how it is.
Yeah. Don't go knocking doors with people that might mislead you a little bit and then make you think you got things going on, just to realize like, damn, I've been giving these guys a year, 2 years of my time, and it could have been a lot better over here with the Spartan crew, with the Solar Pros. So again, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you for tuning in.
Till next one.
Catch you next time.